My name is Courtney Jernigan. I own Knoxville Graphic House here, and I also owned Rococo Boutique that used to be on the corner of the square over here. So a little bit about my background. I went to Farragut High School. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design for my Bachelor of Fine Arts, and Paolo Moda Institute in Florence, Italy for my Master of Fashion Design Advanced. So I was moving into the fashion design field. I took a lot of graphic design courses, and I ended up working Fashion Week in New York, and then worked for Anna Sui, who's a fashion designer there. And then I moved back home, which was Tennessee or anywhere close to it, and was a professor in Nashville for fashion design, and I wrote all the curriculum for graphic design for the fashion design courses at the International Academy of Design and Technology there. So kind of traveled all over and wanted to come back home and have the opportunity to move back to my hometown. It's funny, you race and want to get out of here as fast as you can out of high school and go on to college, and then sometimes the older you get, you're trying to find your way back. Knoxville's a really, really neat town and great for growth of businesses as well. So I opened up Rococo Boutique. It was an art gift boutique. I was just trying to bring all of my artist friends that I knew and had acquaintances with from all over the world back here to Knoxville. With my graphic design background, we printed all of our invitations. I designed t-shirts and tank tops and apparel that went in the shop, and we printed them in-house. I use DTG printers, which is direct-to-garment printers. So it's like a big inkjet printer that I can print directly on a t-shirt straight from my computer file. So it's really neat. And something that's not really being done here in Knoxville. So I was trying to bring that aspect to it. As that side of the business started growing, I had to make a decision and spend more time on the graphic side. So I ended up splitting the two businesses and having Knoxville Graphic House a few years back, and it started growing from there. So we shut down Rococo, bought a building, and here I am now. We do graphic design and marketing. We handle social media marketing for a lot of clients here in town. We've got clients such as Kimberly Clark. We work with C-Ray. We're working right now with Grid Smart Technologies Inc., which is local, and they do a lot of really neat stuff. So we've got a lot of clients. We're really busy. Every day is different, and it's a lot of fun. So.
My name is Mel Evans. I'm in the insurance and risk management industry. I'm actually from Nashville. You were a professor there. I'm trying to be brief. I can be long sometimes. Originally came to Knoxville. Planned on being a football player, so I played football for a little while. Didn't quite work out. I actually quit right before the national championship season. And I know that a lot of you guys are probably too young to remember once upon a time UT was pretty good in football.
I remember.
Yeah. So in college, I was an advertising major, so nothing to do with what the field I'm in now. But I was an advertising major and went through college, kind of had this idea that I would be this big ad guy, you know, living in New York City or Chicago, that type of thing. But didn't quite work out that way. So upon graduating, had an idea of going into pharmaceutical sales, so I kind of geared my career path towards that. That didn't work out. So I guess it was probably 2 or 3 years after college I got my first insurance job. You know, just happened to be looking for a job, trying to find a career, that type of thing. So this company was a kind of a large independent insurance company where you have multiple carriers, not like State Farm or Allstate. So it went well. So that's where I kind of got my feet wet, learned about the business, kind of found my groove. So from there, I went to another company by the name of Century Insurance, which was more of a outside sales role, calling on different businesses, much more in depth, more products to deal with, that type of thing. So that's where I really cut my teeth in the profession during that time. So I was at Century for 7 years, and it was going extremely well. Built up a very large book of business. With what I do, that's very important. It's all about your book of business. Built up a huge book of business, and November, it was around fall 2012, the company had a massive layoff. So I built up this huge book of business, thought I finally, was doing my thing, was feeling good about my job and my career. So this happened. Just bought a house, didn't really know what to do at this point in time. So I sat back and kind of thought about it. I didn't know if I wanted to do something completely different, stick with insurance, or just go somewhere else. Move to California and just hang out on the beach all day. Well, I finally made up my mind, so I want to stick with it. I want to start my own company. Spoke to some people, some friends of mine in the industry, some mentors per se, and decided to just go ahead and do it. I did my research, I figured out which direction I wanted to head in, and that was December 2012. So I say that too to give you guys all the respect in the world, because when I was your age, I wasn't thinking about starting a business. And that was probably the farthest thing in my mind, me personally. But yeah, so started the company December 2012, January 2013. We just hit the 4-year mark. We're growing. As far as, I guess, the secret sauce, everybody's got a little something different, but to be honest, it's just hard work. I'm sure you guys have learned that a lot in your various classes. I sat in on one of them, and I saw your presentations. You guys all did a great job, but hard work, that is the main thing I can really preach to you. That's my piece.
Thank you, Mel. My name's Jim. I'm going to start pretty much when I was your age. I'm going to guess you all are somewhere between 8th grade and 11th or 12th grade. Is that about right? So I was that kid in school that had the long hair and skateboard. And as soon as I could get a car, I wanted to go to the beach and surf. So I was the rat. I was that little skater dude. And I was not particularly interested in school. I was much more interested in having fun. And quite honestly, I regret that. I had a lot of fun, but I wish I had paid a little bit more attention in high school, because when I got to college, I felt like I was a little bit behind. I felt like, oh no, I should have listened a little closer. So college was a bit of a struggle, but I still wanted to chase waves. I was at the University of Florida, having a great time down there, and I went to school there for 4 years and graduated with a degree in liberal arts and sciences. And frankly, I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea what was ahead of me. I was just interested in getting out of school and pursuing life. Along the way, I met this great girl at school, and fell in love with her really quick and proposed to her in 4 months' time. That was 32 years ago, and that's that girl right there. I married her and took her with me, and I said, I have no idea where I'm going. Neither did she. And that was okay. We just took off. She had a degree in business, I had a degree in liberal arts and sciences. And we went to the big city of Atlanta and left Florida behind, and went for an experience to see what we could find in our lives. I ended up working in multiple jobs. telephone industry, payroll industry. Then I ended up somehow in the car business in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was hired as a trainee. I wasn't a threat to anybody. I was there to schedule cars into a factory for production. I was a scheduling coordinator. 12 years later, I had been promoted 4 times and moved into 4 states. Ended up in Tennessee in 1995. And I had a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And we got here, we moved out west into Farragut, and we put them into the middle school program, primary school, middle school, high school program. We decided that we wanted to stay in East Tennessee and figure out a way to make a living and make a life here. So we just put our heads together and looked for a way not to get transferred again, not to get promoted in my company, and moved again. I'd already had 4 houses, 4 cities, 4 different roles, and I liked the 4 seasons that I found here. There was a winter, spring, summer, fall, and I thought that was awesome. Plus, I really liked where the kids were. So I looked at my wife and I literally said, we have to figure out a way not to be transferred out of Knoxville. What can we do? We knew a lot about business. We knew a lot about life. And I was managing the new car show down here at the Knoxville News Sentinel New Car Show at the Coliseum, at the Convention Center. And I forgot to hire detailers for my show. And I was the guy in the suit. I was in charge of the show, and I forgot to hire detailers. I looked at my wife and I asked her what she was doing tomorrow. So what are you doing? Literally, she went and grabbed 5 other mothers of similar age, and they went down to these new cars that I had at the auto show, and they detailed my cars for me. And she had a blast, and I had a blast. She asked if she could do it again. I said, sure, but you gotta wait a year, because the show's only once a year. Well, we did it again. And in 1997, we realized that we should do it more, and we should do it all over the United States. So we formed a company. Didn't know how to form a company, didn't have an office, didn't have an attorney. I went to mailboxes, etc., and I bought a mailbox this big, for $30 a month. And I incorporated it out of the mailbox. National Detailers Incorporated. Suite 301. It was that big. That company has lasted 20 years. We're still doing that today. Today we call it Auto Mojo. It's cooler, it's hip, it's more interesting. We're doing motorsports events, we're doing product specialists, brand ambassador stuff. We're automotive experts. She's still working with me in that company. But along the way I got a little bored because she was so good. So I started looking for other things to do here in Knoxville. One reason, to keep her working less or help her to work less. Plus I wanted to stay here longer, and I knew that I needed something else. So I got into car washing because it seemed to be a natural fit. So in 2005, we created a company called 3 Minute Magic Carwash. And we built our first car wash over on Lovell Road, right next to Grayson BMW, by the Pilot store. Nobody knew what it was. $3, free vacuums, come on in. Scared to death. Frightened. Cost $2.3 million. I didn't have that money. I just talked the bank into giving it to me. 10 years later, we have 5 of those buildings. And in January, I decided to change the name. Decided 3 Minute Magic didn't work anymore. I was doing more than just express exteriors. We're doing polish tunnels, we're doing detailing, we're building conveyor belts, we're doing full service. So we changed the name to PureMagic Carwash. You may have seen some of the commercials, you may have heard the radio or seen some of the print, but we took what was a perfectly good name, very successful business, and shattered it into pieces and said we can do better. And everybody asked me if I was crazy. And they still do. But I don't think I'm crazy, I just think I'm bored sometimes. So we look for ways to push our business is what we do. Look for ways to find something interesting and cool, fun. I don't know anybody in my entire life that ever wanted to grow up and work in a car wash. Anybody. But it is a fun job. And I have 58 employees and 5 car washes. We have 20 employees in the detailing business. And now we're into the manufacturing business. We're building conveyor belts. Just because it's fun. Not because it impresses people. Not because it looks great on paper. It is fun. So my message to you is, whatever you think is fun, I don't care what it is, printing t-shirts, if it's spinning records, if it's just creating something, singing, I don't care what it is, if it's fun, exploit it, pursue it, see what you can do with it. If you can't do anything with it, no harm, no foul, right? But if you take a chance, make sure that it scares you. Because if it doesn't scare you, you probably didn't take a big enough chance. You're playing it safe. You got to scare yourself a little bit in this world of entrepreneurism, because there's not a lot of rules out there. There's a lot of ideas. A lot of people make it. A lot more don't make it, and that's okay. Take a chance on something you like, and if you like it, you will work harder than you've ever thought yourself possible. You'll work a lot harder in your business than you do in school. At least that's the way it happened with me. So anyway, I'm a car wash guy. I wash cars, and I have a ball doing it.
Right. Now I guess we can just go ahead and open up for questions. I've got our actually planning last week to forget, but I'll go ahead and open up. I'll help moderate. All right. Any other question? Cool.
Mr. Rooney, what's next? City of Boise.
Man, that's a great question. I ask myself that literally every month. What's next? Because I don't look at our car wash success as a linear line. I don't think that it's going to take me to some place and stop. I look at more of a circle. I've started it, I'm running it, and at some point I need to exit it, and I need to just keep doing this through my life and finding other ways to parlay what we know and what we like. I think in Farragut, we just launched the building. We launched the store in Farragut in November, and we advertised. I don't know if you watched the World Series or the Super Bowl. We put a little commercial in there because it's all very different what we're doing there. So what we decided to do was break everything in terms of expectations and molds and preconceived ideas. And we had to do that through automation. We needed a conveyor system to move cars and people with. Nobody knew how to do that. Nobody knew what I was talking about, and nobody could sell me that equipment. So the guy I work with, who I hired 6 years ago to work with me, we just literally put our heads together and said, if we think this through, we can convey our ideas to some engineer, somebody, somewhere, can help us design it. They can build it for us. And we did. We built a conveyor system, 150 feet long, 12 feet wide. Now we move cars and people through a car wash. And the owners are right beside us. It's very unique. But other people started asking around the country for that technology. So I looked at my wife and said, uh-oh, I think we just started another business. And we did. So we've been selling conveyors around the States now. And I think I'm going to pursue that for a while. I'm going to push that, and I'm going to see how far it can take me across the country and how many other markets we can get into and what we can do with it. All along, using Knoxville as a test bed for cool ways and new ways to wash cars. Cool. Yeah.
I have a question. I have a question for you. I just kind of wanted to know a little bit more about how you got into fashion design and what pushed you to your current business.
And so if you want to get your background as far as you
My business is Rosie, and I go to thrift stores and I get vintage used clothing and I'll upcycle them. So,
Very neat.
yeah.
That is neat. Well, ever since I could remember, I've always been interested in art. And it didn't matter what form it was. Growing up, that was just way more exciting to me than you know, other classes that I was taking in school. So when I was actually growing up, I didn't really do that great in school. And I think it was because I wasn't necessarily that interested. So when I started Savannah College of Art and Design, I found something that I liked to do, and I was doing really good at it. So I think that goes back, you know, to what Mr. Rooney was saying. It's, if you find something that you like to do, it's not work. It's just fun. And so I started doing really well, and fashion has always just been a dream of mine. I think it's really important to learn just as young as you possibly can that life is not, you don't pick, hey, this is what I'm going to do and this is what's going to happen. You have to go with the ebbs and flows, and sometimes it takes you in different directions that you never thought that that was the exact direction you want to go. But if it wasn't for going into fashion design and meeting all the wonderful people that I was able to meet and learning graphic design in that way, then it wouldn't have put me back to the place that I am now. We brand businesses, so I feel like I'm really lucky. I get to do the fun part of creating a business, the whole vision, what's it gonna look like, how are people gonna perceive it, how are you gonna stand out. But I get to do that every day with startups, different startups every single day. So new restaurants that come to town, we do anything from t-shirts to menu design. We just designed the menus that are going in the new Tennessean hotel over here. So no, I didn't think that I was going to be designing menus when I was younger, but it all plays a role in, you know, aesthetics of life. And how things look. So I feel that I'm in this Knoxville market, but I've created my own niche market because I come at it a different way. When someone wants to design a postcard or they say, I need a brochure, I say, why is anyone going to pick up your brochure? You only have so many seconds to catch someone's attention and have them pick it up, and then once they pick it up, are they going to open it? Are they going to read it? What happens next? So we go about things differently. So I think that fashion design, and I still get to do a little fashion design too. So I haven't lost that as well. So it's a good spot too. Yeah.
For any of, like, if this question will be for any of you, but how do you stand out at trade shows or events or stuff like that? Like, how do you just like, stand out?
That's a good question. We do a lot of booth design for other businesses. We were at Smoothie-Palooza, but you have to find your own out-of-the-box way of thinking. So my suggestion would be to take a look at what everyone else is doing and do something completely different. Something that shocks people, that catches their attention, whether it be from color or a phrase. And always being clean and neat with things and not cluttered, but getting to the point. Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm going to talk to you actually about that, but currently we don't do any trade shows, but I am actively researching some methods, because just like you said, I've done it before in the past, other positions. You definitely want to stand out. Most of them tend to kind of do the same deal. You know, somebody will have a giveaway, and you just don't see much differentiation. But yeah, I guess just being creative, maybe being a little bit innovative, would definitely go a long way.
In art class, growing up, even in college when I was in art classes, our teachers, whenever we would do anything, would have us back away to the other side of the room. And they might make us do this a million times during a project, and it used to drive everybody nuts. Like, oh, but I'm working. Nope, stop working. Back away to the other side of the room. Squint your eyes. What do you see? That's the same thing at a trade show. You've got a lot of people trying to be heard in a singular space. So if you can back away, squint your eyes, and say, what's going to catch people's attention from across the room? What's going to make them know exactly who I am and what I do and want to come over and talk to me? So that was always a good tip
I attend a lot of trade shows. I go to big shows just to buy things. I'm the person that you're trying to attract. Next week, I'm going to Las Vegas, the world's largest Carwash convention. It's a global show. And it is full of, I'll call it eye candy, which means spinning things, blinking things, cool things. And I like that kind of stuff. And when I see something that just makes me look at it a second time, and there's a smiling face and an engaging individual, I'm willing to engage with them and talk to them. What I find a lot of times, it's the body language of the people behind some of the booths. Sometimes that's sort of from 10, 12 feet away. You just really don't want to go engage, or maybe they don't want you to engage. There's just a little moment there that sometimes makes things uncomfortable. So I think if you can throw out the right body language, even if you don't have the spinny, shiny, cool things, if you have the right body language, eye contact, smile, and you truly, really want to reach out and communicate with somebody, you'll find people that will respond, and they'll start engaging with you.
Yeah, like when I was at the trade show that we went to, I can say right, some of the people's body language when I was walking around was just not welcoming, and I see what you're saying is that is really wrong.
And if you're sitting down, don't sit down in your booth, stand up. It's tiring, but stand up, engage, walk around. Try not to stand directly behind your table and look like a soldier. Just move around your booth, be comfortable, try to meet somebody. It's really what you're trying to do. You know, one of the things I want to say is how small this world is, it's amazing how we're all interconnected in all the things that we do and that we touch. Listening to Courtney talk about designing the menus over at the Tennessean got me excited because next month we have 52, actually we have 52 total people, but we have 24 of the world's best car wash operators flying from all over the world to come to Tennessee to see what's happening over here. And we're all staying in the Tennessean. We're the very first group in the Tennessean, and it's the first group of rooms that they've sold, and I can't wait now to open up that menu and see Courtney's work. I truly can't. And everything is connected, and without guys like Mel, I don't stay in business. I can't stay safe. I can't keep you safe. I just can't conduct business. So we all scratch one another's back in some unknown, strange, interconnected way in this little place that we're in. So regardless of whether you find yourself in an engineering course, a design course, some sort of completely creative course or a technical course, I'll guarantee you that the friendships that you're making here will come back and somehow connect later. It's amazing how many people connect in the strangest and most unexpected ways.
Very true.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Well, Mel, I'll ask a question for you then, because this reminded me, we had some folks from Scott Insurance come and talk to the class. And a lot of the students were kind of really curious because the numbers game for insurance is really difficult. You have to have that huge kind of financial backing in case somebody does file a claim that requires a lot of funding. So, and so how hard it is now to start a small insurance company. So, maybe how you went about that process and what was the most challenging piece for you to start, your own independent insurance company.
I will say this, I think it's a little easier nowadays than say maybe 20 years ago because it's technology, whereas, back in the 1990s, you may have had to purchase a $10,000 computer system, and phones. So now with many things are internet-based, our phones are internet-based, everything's cloud-based. The agency management software I use is cloud-based. All the quoting software I use is web-based. Whereas once upon a time, it wasn't set up in such a way. So I mean, that's probably taking costs down quite a bit. And then I guess me personally, what was a big help was actually having industry experience. I mean, that was invaluable. Not only the knowledge and the product knowledge and the expertise that I gained from doing it for, I guess, 8-9 years, but relationships. Kind of like you were just saying, you know, how interconnected things are. So just having existing relationships, or maybe a better way of saying it is building those relationships. Because you have to do a good job on the front end, you know, from a business standpoint, to establish those relationships. I mean, that helped me out tremendously. And then just, you know, what the first thing I mentioned was just hard work. I mean, it's sweat equity, as they say.
Keep going from your update, Ellen.
What is the most valuable information you guys have gotten in your entrepreneurship career, or just?
I had a professor in college that gave me a poem when I was living in Italy. And I had just picked up and moved myself, all by myself, to another country. I didn't know anyone, and I was the only American in, you know, my program. So I was not as comfortable as I would have been if I was at home. And she gave this poem, and I'm not going to get into the entire poem, but it was talking about how you need to plant your own garden and you need to decorate your own soul instead of waiting for someone else to bring you flowers. And that just always stuck with me because it's true. I think being an entrepreneur, starting a business takes a lot of guts, and it can be really scary at times, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. So I think about that quote a lot. In fact, I have it up in my business, and I've given it to my employees that work for me because it's important, and it helps remind me not to lean on other people to make my dreams happen, that I just have to go out there and do it myself, because no one's gonna sell my idea better than me. You grow and you have employees, and you hope they're happy and they enjoy their job and they can do a really good job at it. But it comes down to the ultimate vision that first started it. And if you believe in yourself enough, and if you put all that really hard work in, you know, whether you win or lose, you get to walk away knowing that you put yourself out there. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, I like that question because, you know, I'm sure we're all kind of the same. We probably read a lot, study a lot, had a lot of good mentors. So you just get, it's a lot of information that comes in. I'm a simple guy, and the one thing that stuck out to me was, it was a friend of mine, and he had a buddy that was a Navy SEAL, and he got this from him. But the phrase was, if you want to, you will. If you don't, you won't. And I just think that, for me, that gets down to the nuts and bolts of it. Because if you really want it, whether it be starting a business, going after a new client, whatever it may be, starting a new division in your company, if you really want to do it, you'll make it happen. So I guess that's mine.
I like hearing these quotes. That's cool, because I have one too. It was nothing ventured, nothing gained. In other words, take a risk. If you don't take a risk, you're not going to get anything. The world doesn't hand you anything. You got to scare yourself. And it's a lonely journey. I'll guarantee you that these two individuals have felt alone in the beginning. Today they're surrounded by people that can help them succeed, because without other people we can't do it alone. But you have to start somewhere. Start in that little brain, that little voice that you have that talks to you about these ideas and these thoughts. And I will tell you to listen to that voice. Argue with yourself, fight with yourself, debate yourself, challenge yourself. Try not to talk yourself into too much success, because it's laced with a lot of challenge. If business was easy, everybody would be doing it. It's not easy. It's scary, but it is a rush. In my very first one, I failed. I forgot to tell you that I lost $435,000 in my very first car wash. It was a disaster. And then I tried it again. She thought I was crazy. And I thought I was crazy. But it worked the second time. So be prepared to fail. Be prepared to scare yourself. Be prepared for people to tell you you're kind of crazy and ask you, what are you doing that for? And if everybody thought like you, and if everybody was as brave as you, everybody would be in this. It just takes a little courage. Find a phrase that inspires you. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. If I'm not taking a risk, I'm not going to get a reward. And they had similar motivation.
And I think that you guys will come across you will have a lot of people that give you their opinions of how you should do things. And don't do it this way, do it that way. But the really cool thing about it is, it's your idea, and you get to create it and make it into what you want. So it's always good to listen, listen to everyone's opinions, ask a lot of questions, especially from people that are experienced or that are around you, mentors, but definitely listen to yourself, because if you have an idea that's different, that you're trying to push, then no one else's advice is really gonna make it succeed. It's gonna be your heart and your passion in it too. So I think we've probably all had people tell us, don't do this, do it that way.
Yeah.
So that's just another bit of advice too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I was working for Chrysler Corporation, I had a nice job. I mean, I was doing okay. I was running auto shows, had a salary and a free car and all that. And I went in and I resigned. And he asked me what I was going to do. And I said, I'm going to go detail cars. Just imagine that conversation. In the top of a 15-story corporate environment with suits. I'm going to go detail cars. They thought I was crazy. But I had an idea, and she was into the idea with me, and that's all I needed, so we went for it. So other people might think you're crazy. It's okay. It's all right. Listen, like she said, listen to what they have to say, but don't forget what it is that's driving you. Take that information. I like what Mel said. You're always learning. I'm always learning. I don't have time to read books anymore, so I just get an Audible app on my phone. And when I drive to work, the phone reads me a book every morning to work and every morning on my way home from work. And a week and a half later, I have an 11-hour book read to me. I'm like, yeah, I just read a book this week. If I just got one cool thing out of that, then that's good. And it's the same thing whether it's personal. Somebody could give you just one good piece of advice. One thing that you remember, keep in your pocket, remember it, rev it, hold on to it, apply it.
How do you balance your personal life with your work life?
That is probably my biggest difficulty, because I have kids. I have a baby that is just about to turn 1 year old, and I also have a 7-year-old daughter. And when I started, well, first when I was a professor in Nashville, I said I want to start my own business. I really thought hard about it, made my business plan. I want to open up my own shop. I thought it was going to be there, and I just got this overwhelming feeling when I woke up one day and thought, if I don't stop this, if I don't go for my dream, it's not gonna happen. If I don't do it today, it's not gonna happen. So I woke up and walked into work and walked in and sat in at the president's office and said, I'm gonna put in my 2 weeks notice today. And my family thought I was crazy. But I did it, and if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be here now. And so I moved, my daughter was 2 at the time, turning 2, and it was really hard for me to put in so many hours at work trying to create something that I really believed in, and also not missing out on those really important times. But in the end, it's a happy balance, and my kids get to grow up learning like I learned from my parents about hard work, and if you want to do something, you do it. So that's hard. It's hard to balance, and I think everyone probably struggles with that a little bit.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's probably the number one area where I struggle. I've got a 17-year-old, goes to school right now on the street, L&N. She's actually in art, so what's pretty cool, I've been able to incorporate some things. She may help me make a flyer, a marketing piece, something along those lines. But yeah, it can definitely be tough because when you're starting out, you put a lot of hours into it. But like you said too, Courtney, it's good that your children can see that and know that if you want something, this is what it takes to get it. But yeah, I'm still trying to fine tune the whole work life balance.
Yeah, we all are. And it was a brilliant question. Good for you. Balance is key for everything. If you're one-sided, too heavy on one side, you're just you're just out of balance. And I don't like people to work for me who are out of balance. I demand employees, or expect, rephrase it, I expect my employees to have a work-life balance. I don't want them working too long, too often. I want them to disconnect and go home and plug in, whether that's with a spouse and children, or if they're single, then it's whatever they find entertaining. So I try very hard to make sure people are balanced who I surround myself with. And I'm able to succeed in my work-life balance because I work with my family. We don't have a family-run business, but we work together in the business. Terry works with me, around me, and sometimes we drive each other crazy. Most of the time we drive each other crazy. So we put offices on 2 different floors, as far apart as we could get them. And it's a true story, because I'm completely different in my daily work pattern than she is. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of things to talk about, or we've talked about them already, so we just disconnect and get back into our life. But balance is critical. Find it any way you can, or you'll just be one-sided.
It's not like having a job that you go to every day and you get to go home and you get to leave your work at work. Because when you create your own business, it doesn't matter what building it's in or where your office is, you are the business. So it's really hard to not bring it home with you. You have to really try to turn it off when it needs to be turned on. So.
Yeah. I'll add this too, because, and Tim, you made me think about it. So that is one of the things because I know how it is. I try to emphasize to my employees that, I don't want you guys getting burned out. I don't want you guys working like crazy, like me. But yeah, I try to make it more performance-based, which we can do because we're more sales-oriented, I guess. So, I kind of abide by the model. If we start at 9, come in at 9:04. We're not going to be big sticklers on that. You know, let's not get too crazy with it. But I'm not gonna micromanage you coming in, leaving. It's more of a trust factor. It's like I tell everyone, I want you thinking like a manager. So of course I have to trust that they will, you know, not take advantage of the system, but that's the philosophy. You know, coming and going, lunch breaks, that type of thing. I'm not going to hammer you and stay on top of you to make sure you took an hour lunch break. We try to encourage community involvement, recreational sports, but I try to do it in a way where it's an extension of what we're doing as a company. So let's go play on the softball team. Let's go play on an intramural kickball team. We try to volunteer in the community a lot, and I've found that doing those types of activities, it can help build team chemistry, can maybe lower stress levels to a certain extent, and just getting away from the office sometimes can be beneficial.
That kind of segues into another question that the students have. Kind of when you brought on other employees, have you started kind of out on your own, and how that really changed your business and things that you learned while, you know, managing staff rather than kind of being that one-man show?
Managing staff is a hard part of, at least for me, because that's never what I saw myself doing. But when you're the owner of your company, you have to manage everything. So you don't get to just do the fun parts, you have to do the other parts too. And that's a learning experience too. Management is its own bird. And you come across people that you think will be a good fit, and sometimes they're not, and sometimes they are. Going back to what Mel said, you can't burn people out. You're going to work through lunch, and you're going to stay late or arrive early because it's your business. But when you start expecting everyone else to do that, sometimes that doesn't work. So there's a lot of things that go into managing. You always want to make sure that everyone is happy and in a healthy environment at work. But sometimes when you give people too much of a happy environment, you lose work ethic. So it's just a balance in itself, and everybody's different. You just have to find the right people that have their own ambition inside of them, because it's really hard to micromanage people. But when you find somebody to be a part of your team that is really self-managing and wants to do good and wants to succeed in their position, then it makes it easier on you. So the longer you have the business, you start learning what those personality types are, and you start kind of detecting those and looking for those types of people to be a part of your team.
Very true, very true. Yeah, that's a lot of good points there. I think company culture is important. The culture you set. I guess it ties into the whole performance based with what we do. Like Courtney just said, you want your employees self-managing, and you guys, as you develop your business, you'll know your business. So on that same token, I don't necessarily have to. My employees don't need to clock in, because I'll know if somebody comes in 2 hours late, I'll know it. Plus, we're a small company anyway. But I just think the culture you said is very important. It's hard to establish. It's hard to set from day one. At least it was for me, because I didn't really have a grasp for that part of it. It's like you said, you know, when you start a business, I think most of us when we started, we probably had this talent. There was a certain talent we had, and we took that talent and we started our own business. But, you know, certain parts of running a company that you may not be as familiar with. And they don't teach, as you're finding out, they don't teach a lot of this in school. So I guess, you know, just take the time also, personally, professionally, to seek education, get training, use your resources, like the chamber. That can be a big help.
Do you know what culture is in a company? Does anybody not know what culture is? Everybody understands it? It's basically your personality, right? Of course. It's the personality in the room, in the group, in your tribe that you're creating. A lot of that, I think maybe sports teams, dance teams, church groups that you guys are hanging out in. And the key word there is trust. You have to extend trust in an entrepreneurial environment because you realize that you've got this great idea and you need help. And you need these 3 guys to help you. So you have a talk with these 3 guys or these 3 ladies or all the people in this room. And then as an entrepreneur, you start extending your trust blindly, faithfully, courageously, and you try to inspire them at the same time. And you hope that the trust comes back in a very positive and productive way. Sometimes people break your trust and you just don't see it coming. It's like a slap in the head. Don't let that jade you. Don't let it change you. Just let it educate you and be aware the next time you extend trust that maybe you need to position it a little differently. But we went through that when we started to expand. Suddenly, one day, 4 people knocked on my door in the morning, and I had 4 people show up in my living room, because I started the business in my living room in Farragut. I didn't have any place to put them. I didn't see all this coming. So I had to find a little place here and there all over my house, and finally I said, let's get out of this house and get an office and turn this into a real business, because this seems like it's going to work. So we turn ourselves into coaches when we move past our one-woman show or one-man show. We turn ourselves into friends and coaches, leaders. Your leadership will start to develop. You'll start to say things that inspire confidence in other people. You'll start to want to reward them and make them happy. Like Courtney was saying, a happy group is great. It's great. But everybody's different. That's why they have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, because everybody's different. And you cannot talk to everybody the same way. You've got to treat everybody individually. And doing that is kind of a skill that you learn. You can't read that in the book, and they can't really teach that to you in class. You just got to start talking to people, working with them, hanging out with them every day. And you'll learn who you get along with and who you don't get along with, who's in your vision and who isn't, who's helping you and who's holding you back. Then you just pretend you're the coach of a basketball team or baseball team. You just try to recruit the best players to score the most points. No offense personally, but you guys aren't scoring points, I'm going to go with these guys, right? And you start building your team that way, extending trust, because your back will be turned a lot. And you have to set faith that they're going to take care of you like you want to take care of them. That's the hard part. Would you agree?
Yeah.
People will just surprise you and take advantage.
I think one of my biggest troubles with managing a team, especially when I first started and starting to hire on all my employees, was my business is my life. I'm there all the time. I invest all of my time in it. And so it's hard to be the boss and not be the friend. And being in a creative setting with a lot of creative minds, we have a lot of fun together. But I also have to be the one that stands up in any client meeting or any brainstorming sessions and says, hey guys, let's get back to work, get back on track. And so I always have to be the boss. And I think in situations in the past, especially when I was learning to manage, I tried to manage more as a friend. And sometimes when you do that, you open yourself up to more opportunities of people to, you know, hurt your trust, I guess.
Yeah, push all the limits when you act like their friend. You can like everybody you're working with, have a great time, but remember that you're leading them.
In all situations.
Yeah, in all situations.
Yes.
How many employees do you guys have since, so I can just like get a feel for how much like?
Yes. We have 8 employees, and then we also have freelance artists depending on what projects that we work in. If it's a bigger project, sometimes we hire a freelance artist to work for us as well.
Yeah, I actually had 3, and kind of, which relates to what we're talking about right now, lost one recently because they didn't fit with the culture. So yeah, so now we're down to 2. 78, and the culture changes a lot. It's like a weather pattern. It really is, and you've got to recognize that. It's a personality that moves, and when you get it with this great momentum going, it's hard to stop that.
And you can hire one person that you think is going to do a really good job, and sometimes they can come in and put a kink in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you don't even know how it happened. So you have to be really, you have to pay really close attention to that. And to make sure that everybody's happy. And because a lot of times in growth, you'll have things going on with employees and they might not want to come to you with that. So you just have to have this kind of psyche about what's going on.
My first hire was a friend of mine, and I think there is kind of a natural inclination. You guys may be thinking this way too. Like, when I get things started, I'm gonna hire my buddy or my cousin, whoever it may be that you know. I'll just say proceed with caution in doing it.
Yeah.
Proceed with caution. I've spoken to other business owners that have gone down that road too, and it didn't end well. So just be careful. You don't want to, end a relationship over something like that.
Yeah. Make him your partner.
Works out sometimes.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
I guess another question I had for all of you is, how do you deal with negative energy when people hear your idea or hear something that you're really passionate about and they're like, no, that's awful. How do you deal with that and bounce back?
I just got to jump up and say you got to determine if it's negative energy or they just simply disagree with you. If it's negative, just step all over that and stop it. But if they disagree with you, that's great. Open it up for that conversation, right? It's okay to disagree. In fact, it's the healthiest thing that you can do.
You definitely have to be open to criticism because that's what's going to make you better. If you opened up a store and you only carried what you liked, and see, a lot of people say, oh, I want to open up my own shop and I have a good eye. But if you only carried what you like, you might not succeed because you might not sell everything because you're a unique person and not everyone is like you. So I think it's important to keep that in mind.
It motivates me. I like it when somebody kind of gives me a little pushback. And which was, when I first started, there was a lot of that. Oh, you can't do this, and there's so much competition. There's an insurance agency on every corner. Okay. Keep telling me that. Keep telling me that. So I love it. But yeah, you do have to, I guess, sometimes, figure out is it negative or is it constructive criticism?
Depending on what you do too, I know our clients, we try to approach things, and this has just kind of been learned, and it's a strategy within the company, is we always like to, when we're giving an idea or a plan, we always like to give a good, better, best option. People like options. They don't like too many options because then you're going to freak them out and they're not going to be able to pick one. But it gives them the opportunity to pick and choose. If you hand someone one option and you say, this is what I've done for you, I want to sell this to you, you have a 50% chance that they're going to say no. So giving them a good, better, best option. And sometimes we know, hey, they're not going to pick one or the other, but sometimes when you give people options and you direct them into a positive light, into the direction that you think, you know, might be best for them, sometimes they feel like they made that decision and they got to pick, even though you were picking. You knew what they were going to do in the first place.
I got one. What was the single most important skill that you used in establishing your businesses?
Establishing it?
Yes.
Vision. For me, you have to see it before you can build it. And then once you build it, you have to manage it. So it starts with a vision, in my opinion.
It's hard for me to disagree with that one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
That's good. That's good. You have to have heart, and it might not necessarily be a skill or not, but some people have it and some people don't. I think you're born with it. You might not realize it when you were born. You might find it when you get older. That differentiates who's going to jump into the open or not, I guess.
Yeah. I like energy. I think it definitely takes energy because, you know, you're used to just doing maybe one thing, and so now, you know, you used to be sales guy, now you're business owner, you're thinking about accounting and cash flow, balance sheets and IT and computers, and you're having to also work with clients, and people are telling you no, and there's legal things floating around. So I mean, I think it definitely takes energy to get through that, because if you don't have it, it's easy to get beat up and just say, hey, I'm done, throwing in the towel. So I'll say energy.
Yeah, when I went to the vision piece, it's not seeing all the answers, it's not seeing all the pathway, it's just seeing a path or a place that you want to go towards. And if it's towards a creative path or more of an engineering science path or some sort of community or if you see it, then you can start talking about it. And you can try to explain it to somebody that wants to listen to you. And then you start flushing out that vision a little bit more. And before you know it, you're actually making forward momentum towards that vision. And then all that hard work and discipline and courage and, you know, all that comes in and follows it.
I think if you have really strong self-worth, when I first started doing all of this, I thought, oh, I'm doing some of this for friends, and I would really undersell myself and underprice what it is that I'm offering. Anybody can go on simplyinc.com and, you know, plug in their t-shirt idea and get them sent to them in the mail now, or go to Tiny Prints and get things printed out. But people come to us and pay the prices that we've set because they want our ideas, because we're different. And really, over the past couple of years, having that understanding that we have value has really, put us in a different light and helped us, get to where we are and grow to where we want to be. And when I'm talking to clients, I try not to forget that. And therefore I can't be compared to those other types of businesses that are quick and easy to go to. And so having a good thought about your value and what you're worth.
Did you have a question?
Oh yeah, I meant to ask you, how did you go from a liberal arts and science major to washing cars? Like what made you get into that?
Well, that was a long journey. And it was full of turns. When Mel was talking about the things that he has to do today to run a business, I was thinking how I should have paid attention to that in school, because that's what we have to do. And I spent a lot of time on financial analysis and things that I wasn't trained on formally, but things that are critical. But see, the liberal arts and science, I'll be transparent with you. I went to a 5-hour accounting course and I didn't take it seriously. And I failed it. And that blew my chances of getting a degree in business. I just wanted to get out of school, and I had a lot of things lined up to get me through a criminal justice degree in the liberal arts and science college. So I went over there to get out of school, and then I thought I would become an attorney instead. So I pursued this course of corporate law after school. Realized that I didn't belong in a library reading Black's Law dictionaries. I just couldn't do it. I said, boy, those were a bunch of mistakes I made. So I went out and started selling telephone services. I just started working. And what we teach our children is that sometimes when you know what you want to do in high school or college, you're really blessed, because not a lot of people do. We look at a college degree often in our family as a hunting license. It basically says I'm smart, I'm able, I'm capable, I'm disciplined. I have a college degree, now I'm going to go attack the world. And in the entrepreneurial world that we live in our family, that's important to us. So we just look for growth and opportunity. I have one daughter that traveled the world, reminded me of what Courtney said. She said, later, I'm gone. And she left for 4 years and traveled the world. The other one's following business, and we're doing business. But what ultimately happened for me is I didn't know what I wanted to do. That's how I sort of ended up in this place, because it found me. I just sort of started realizing it was fun, and it was working for our family and working for me, and then I realized I was better at it than other people. And then I sort of wanted to flex my muscles a little bit and say, look at this, right? Let's show them what we can do. It's a pride thing. It's a self-worth, self-achievement, confidence builder. When you're good at something, you kind of know it. You look in the mirror and you say, I'm good at that, whatever that is. I was talking to some people earlier that were, he was doing a lot of t-shirt design and selling them to his high school class locally, and he was just killing it. He was loving it. And you know, when you look around and you see other people wearing your t-shirts or your designs or your stickers on whatever they're putting their stickers on, it makes you feel pretty darn good. So you want to do more of it. And that's why I'm staying in this business, because it's just working, it's fun. Everybody's got a dirty car. It's great. That's repeat business for me. You know, you guys may not have dirty cars yet, but
No,
you will.
I do.
Then I got a free car wash for you after this meeting.
I'll take you up on it.
Deal. Yeah, life just kind of finds you sometimes. You find it too.
I think that's a good point too, about if you're good at something, if you do well at it, you feel good. Because I like to think about the psychology behind things, and I know that's one thing I can attach to when I was growing up. If it was a sport, if I was good at it, I enjoyed it. I can say the same thing now. I can relate to what you're saying. Once you find your groove and you feel like you're good at it, you kind of see what's going on as far as with the environment and the competition, and you realize, hey, I'm pretty darn good at this.
Game on.
Yeah, it's a confidence booster. It's definitely a confidence booster. You just got to work hard to get there, though.
I know one was, what would be your advice for a startup company, which they all are, to kind of get your initial clients or get the word out and kind of gain that traction?
I would say social media. If you can come up with a good plan, social media is free. It's free advertising. You can spend money on it, but it's free advertising. And if you can study up on how to kind of create different markets and reach out and be heard, it's a great tool that you can use, and it doesn't cost you any money. So if you can be creative about it, and it's not rocket science. There's a lot of articles out there, and if you want to do it bad enough, you'll read them. So.
Social media is good. We do a lot of that. I would say, just kind of depends on what you're doing too. But you know, the face-to-face is good. You just got to figure out the channel you take. So with what we do, we try to be specialized. So we focus on certain industries. So with that being said, perfect example. I'm developing a insurance program for craft breweries. So you better believe the next time they have an association meeting somewhere close, I'm going to that. If a craft one opens up, I'll probably be there opening night. I guess it's good to have a mix though, social media. We do radio. I mean, some things won't be affordable starting out. So, you know, that is key, but social media is free. Talk to somebody face to face, there's no cost in that.
Start with knowing who you are, literally, because at your age, you're trying to figure out who you are. I know I was, and I know a lot of guys at my age are still trying to figure who they are. But one neat way to do that is take a personality test. They're free, and it'll tell you something about the way you think. In my family and in my company, everybody takes a personality test because I want everybody to communicate as effectively and efficiently with one another as they can. I have a family of 4, and all 4 of us have 4 different personalities. And when we read that out loud to each other, we laughed hard. And we reflected on our life. And I'll give you the website, 16personalities.com, 16personalities.com. Learn a little bit about yourself and the way you think. And then when you hear that voice inside your head, you'll understand that that voice is normal, that that voice is okay. And if you think it's different or you think it's mainstream, you'll understand that a little bit too. But once you figure out the way you think, then leverage that, whether it's through social media or through face-to-face booths or people that you're meeting and hanging out with. As you expand your resources, you can get your message out farther and louder, and you can do bigger things. But I promise it starts with being confident about who you are and what you think. And then you go, oh, maybe I'm not so strange. You know, I used to think everybody in the room thought like I did. I couldn't believe all the disagreements I would have. I thought, why don't you get this? Not consoling me. I realized I'm about 2% of the population. But once I figured that out, I said, I get it. So I had started talking to people a little differently. Right? It's about communicating, establishing relationships. Once you do that, other people will talk about it, and you, and your business, and your design stuff. It's, man, you get the village talking about you. It's pretty contagious.